I'm Dean, I'm the dad.
I'm Laura, I'm the mom.
And I'm Arthur, I'm the son.
And together, we are Family Plot. Very nice. How wonderful.
Wow.
Let's get that housekeeping out of the way.
Good clap.
Yeah, wasn't it?
That was a good...
That was a good clap, too.
Yeah, we all fucking...
I'm not going to try because you guys are just going to make me look sad.
No,
yeah, it's a sad. Mine's sad.
That's okay. I'll fix it in post. You'll have the best clap of any.
Yeah,
it's going to be like fireworks.
It's going to reverberate.
And whistles and amazing things. Okay.
Either that or it'll sound like somebody slapping somebody, but we'll call it a clap.
Well, you usually deserve, so you sometimes deserve. This weekend I slapped you when we were on the game show because you couldn't figure the buzzer.
You had the buzzer. I did not.
Anyway.
It was between the two of you. Stop fighting and just press it. One of you. If I was here with you guys, I'd say the exact word.
It wasn't that he couldn't find the buzzer. It was that he just wanted to shut up the answers and give them to the team.
How dare you? Are you sure you know how that is? What question was that?
Actually,
like 4 of them.
It was like 3 of them. Your mom's exaggerating a tiny bit. It was like
just
3.
A little. Because he couldn't, and he's like, screaming answers to her, and then she was like, "You, it's blah blah blah. I already knew it, but now you've given it to me also." He just literally, like, there was a buzzer. All you had to do was
answer before saying buzzer.
He just shouted,
"You silly goose."
Exactly, it was very silly.
All right, well,
But we still...
Moving on.
We still won, even if only if the other team conceded. We still won.
That was not the only reason we won, but I appreciate you being judicial about the whole thing.
All right. I was housekeeping, wasn't I?
You were.
Okay, Patreon. 2 levels, $1, $3. Oh, yeah, it is. It is September because I turned 56.
You do, and I turned 47. So happy birthday to us.
Older.
So this month, I think that we should have Guys Against Girls.
Okay.
And I'm not 100% sure. I don't have it all worked out, but I would like to see how many Patreon subscribers you get versus how many Patreon subscribers I get, so we can do one level is.
I'll take the $1 because I'm the only one on that ticket.
I see. Okay, so you take the $1, I'll take the $3. So we really got to push those $3 Patreon memberships this month so that we can. I don't know. We're gonna do something awesome. For everyone who signs up for the $3 level, we are going to give them a special shout out on the show, and Arthur is going to draw them something.
I will definitely draw you something. I don't know what yet, but I'll draw you something. I'm getting good. I'm getting better at art, guys. I should give it to them to post it on Facebook. I actually have a full-on drawing tablet now.
All right. So, let's see. And then, so we got that was the Patreon. Like I said, $1, $3. The girls would like you to focus on the $3, but I'm here to remind you, $1 does just fine. Anyway, and that's the last word on that subject. Ha! I win. The other thing is, if you just can't do a monthly donation and only want to do a one-time donation of $1 or $2, buy me a coffee is the way to go. If you enjoy the show, please share it on social media.
Share it with friends.
Share it with family.
With everyone. And if you don't enjoy the show, please keep it to yourself.
If you can't say anything nice,
don't say anything at all.
There you go.
And there you go. Okay, so what are we doing tonight? Well, in this episode, we not only go back to July of 2020, which marked our very first episode, but we also go back to Russia in 1869 to attend the birth and dig into the dynamic life of one Grigory Rasputin, Starest and Lothario, Con Man and Madman. We will dig into his life one more time, this time with an older Arthur, and with Laura, who wasn't here for the first episode. We revisit the life of this man and see if we can't give him a little better shrift than we did last time in this redone, updated, retooled episode of the Family Plot Podcast.
But first, oh wait, no, we don't do it that way anymore. So, you're going to give us some history.
Yes. In the 1860s, Russia was a large empire that occupied 1/6 of the Earth's landmass. This has made it the third largest empire in history, by the way. At the time, it was mostly an agrarian economy, but that was beginning to change. Alexander II, the Tsar at that time, had just freed 23 million Russian serfs. This was around the 1860s. There were still serfs. I did not know this.
I don't even know what a serf is.
Serfs were peasant farmers from the Middle Ages.
Oh.
And
like they were required to farm.
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha.
I mean, much more seriously, but the Knights of the Holy Grail by Monty Python, the scene with the peasants, those would be serfs.
Gotcha. So, in doing so, he of course.
He, like I said, he freed 23 serfs from their feudal obligations and gave them land. In doing so, he sowed the first seeds.
23 million.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just said 23 serfs.
Oh, 23 million Russian serfs. Sorry. From their. It would be funny if it was just 23.
Yes. You're good to go. The rest of you, get back to work.
Get back to work.
Now, he just freed 23 million Russian serfs from their feudal obligations and gave them land.
A little bit of a difference there, yes. Thank you.
You think it's 23? No. It's 23 million. You gotta accentuate the million so people don't get confused. He didn't just free 23. He freed 23 million.
You're right. Absolutely. Moving forward.
So in doing so, he sowed the first seeds that would lead to the destruction of the aristocracy in Russia. In addition, Alexander also promoted strengthening the country's borders, encouraged Russian culture and language throughout the nation, but focusing specifically on the border areas, universal military service, and in 1869 was beginning to insist on the development of technology such as the railroad. Pokrovskoye, the village where Rasputin was born, was a secluded rural village. It is much more connected today, with an agrarian economy and the suspicion which all towns view strangers or the strange. It is located in Siberia along the Tura River and what was then known as the Tobolsk Governorate, but these days is called the Tyumen Oblast.
All right. Do you think we should take a few minutes for Arthur's Corner?
I think we should. Golf clap all around.
Hear ye! Allow me to present Arthur's Corner.
Okay, everybody, welcome back to the corner. We're doing a little bit of a different voice, I guess. I don't know what this is. But anyways, hello! How are you guys?
We are hip, and tripping. We are cool dudes. We are happening and with it.
Too much.
You're a little too with it.
You're
I'm here. What's up with you today, Sir Arthur?
They're very excited because I actually have something written down today.
Yay! So proud.
That's why Mom wanted to get into it so fast. She wanted to hear my...
I just miss having the beginning be, and now it's time for Butt Burgers. It used to be a different name, Corner. Now it's time for Arthur's Corner. I just like saying.
Okay. Well, first, let's start off with, have you ever heard of a fish called a leafy sea dragon?
I have not heard of a fish called a leafy sea dragon.
I think perhaps I have heard a small amount, but it has been many ages ago.
Before we start...
Yes, I have seen that leafy sea dragon before.
A leafy sea dragon looks like.
Oh, so it's like a seahorse with fronds.
See, it's funny you say that, because we're going to get a bit into that right now. The leafy sea dragon, also known as the Phycoderus ecus. I wrote down the pronunciation and everything. I'm doing so well. Our 15-inch or our 14-inch long fish at the most. That live in Western Australia seas near cooler, rocky places, closely related to, unlike leafy sea dragons, the well-known seahorse and pipefish, although not exactly the same.
I see. So they are related to seahorses.
Yeah, they're related to seahorses and pipefish, which pipefish basically look like a seahorse and a leafy sea dragon if you just took everything off of it. So it's just a long-nosed, slither dude.
Cool.
And
pipefish.
Yeah, pipefish.
Okay, makes sense.
Here's a couple fun facts about the leafy sea dragons.
Yeah.
Much like seahorses and, well, pipefish, male leafy sea dragons are the ones to become pregnant and carry the offspring.
Awesome.
Ouch.
Ouch. Yeah. That does seem pretty painful, I imagine.
It's worth it.
I was gonna say I've held your mother's hand through one. I eventually recovered.
Sometime around age 2.
Yeah. I eventually got the feeling back in my hand. But the results are worth it, Arthur. Let me tell you.
I'm right here, guys. I'm doing good. Second fact. All relatives, along with the leafy sea dragons, are not poisonous and are actually quite sociable.
Aww,
they're really sociable fish. Unfortunately, they are sort of endangered, so you don't see them very often, and nobody really talks about them really very often.
Aww, that's very sad.
Yeah, but I could see that too. You get that picture in front of too many Western kids, and there's going to be, sport fishermen capturing them so that they can go live in a tank for the rest of forever.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. While leafy sea dragons are endangered or nearing endangerment, they do not have any predators due to their leaf-like appendages, their tough jointed plates in their bodies, and their sharp spines.
So they're very well equipped to handle themselves should it get frisky in the fish tank.
Yeah. So here's the thing about them. While they're nearing what's it called? Endangerment. They're nearing endangerment. They don't have a lot. I feel like since they're living in such a confined place right now, I feel like they've found other places, and I feel like since the ocean is just so unexplored, I feel like there are more in other places than just the ocean. Australia.
It was the 1960s when they caught the first coelacanth. this coelacanths, this prehistoric fish. They thought it went extinct millions and millions of years ago. And I want to say it was the 1960s that two fishermen in a boat caught one.
Yep.
So you know, that's recent memory, at least for me. Yeah, the oceans are vastly unexplored and likely to remain so.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
There's nothing right now or at the moment that they're really working on that can get like deep into the ocean.
Yep.
Because of the pressure at the bottom of the ocean, it just pulls it down, and like the people who are in it have trouble swimming back up because of how much pressure there is in the bottom of the ocean. So it's very likely to.
In the very bottom of the ocean, it literally would implode you because there's so much pressure.
Yeah.
Just like there are fish that live on the bottom of the ocean that if you catch one somehow and haul it up, it will burst from its pressure. It will explode.
Yeah. And that's because, you know, silly billies are trying to get things from the bottom of the ocean, which is not very smart. Let's see, what's next? A leafy sea dragon's leaf-like appendages can change color in order to camouflage better in their environment. So I did not know if you guys knew this, but leafy sea dragons do hide in like kelp and stuff like that, because that's where they usually eat. That's what they usually eat.
Right.
And they hide, but they also camouflage, like the actual leaves camouflage and change color into the color that they're hiding in. So I thought that was very interesting.
Yeah.
And the final fun fact about leafy sea dragons, which I found very interesting. They can live up to 5 to 10 years.
Wow, that is a long time for a
fish.
For a fish, yeah.
For a fish, I think that's pretty decently long.
Absolutely. That's amazing. Thank you for letting us know that. That's exciting.
Yeah, I know, right? I did good this week.
You did amazing.
I think you do good every week.
You absolutely do.
But
would you like to tell us some more about Rasputin? You want to try to pronounce his name too, because that's a little.
Yefimovich.
I got the first one. I think Grigory Yefimovich Rasputin.
Excellent. That was beautiful. Yes. And my clap was better too.
Was born in
Praskoya.
Them Russians say things weird.
Yeah. January 21st to his father Yefim and his mother Anna. Wow, what a usual name.
Gotta love Russians.
Unusual, manly names. He was one of 8, possibly 9 children born to the most of the rest, of whom died in infancy or as children. Dang. That's sad.
Yeah, mortality rates 1860s Russia weren't great for young kids.
Yeah. Anyways, there is some question about how many children the Rasputins have. Some say 8, some claim a 9th child. Yeah, me too, I smell the burn. Theodosia?
Yep, Theodosia.
Knew it. Was born to the family. However, since we know almost nothing about Rasputin's early days, it's impossible to say for sure. He certainly was close to Theodosia and was godfather to her children. But what little we know doesn't confirm any more than that. Grigory was named after a Russian Orthodox saint named Gregory of Nyssa?
Nisa, probably.
Probably Nisa, yeah.
His father was a peasant farmer who occasionally, a government courier,
Yep.
would take goods to another nearby province. While stories have been written about Rasputin stealing horses, yeah, man, me too. Yoink, give me that horse. For legal reasons, that is a joke. Bearing false witness against his neighbors. The open public blasphemy. The truth is likely that, like other young men from his village, he was a little wild.
I love you.
I love you too. What little information we have suggests he was kind of rowdy, challenged village authority figures, and had a reputation for promiscuity.
Promiscuity. I'm glad you can't say the word.
Promiscuity. No, I can say it usually, but my mouth is dry right now. When he was older. That's expected for older men, kind of. He also had a reputation as a drinker. Oh, so he was an alcoholic. That's great. Sources are not clear. Either he received some rudimentary. Guys, my mouth is dry. Drier than a Roadhouse biscuit. I don't know. Education or received no education at all. Either way, he remained illiterate well into adulthood. When he was 17, he went on a long trip and during his travels met a young woman named Praskovia.
Dobrovina?
They began a courtship that lasted several months, and then they were married, making their home in
Proskoye.
Praskoya. My bad, guys. This was in February 1887. Somewhere about this time, it seems Grigory had a religious conversation just before he got married and went on a small pilgrimage where he found adherents of
Clisti
sect.
flagellants.
Flagellants.
They're religious flagellants. What they do is they beat themselves on the back with scourges.
Lovely.
But the Clisti were also known to masturbate until they passed out as well. So, yeah.
Okay, so they're just debaucherous to themselves. That's great to know. Thank you. The debauched ones. Okay. He perverted their beliefs, claiming the best way to contemplate God was in a state of holy passionlessness. And he claimed the best way to reach this state was not the self-whipping of flagellants, but rather the exhaustion that comes at the end of a long debauchery. See, I called it. Mm-hmm. It is around this time that he was given their surname Rasputin, meaning the debauched one. At the age of 18, he attempted to settle down with Praskovia. I'm gonna guess there. Mm-hmm. And went on to have 7 children with her. Unfortunately, only 3 would survive to adulthood.
Wow, that was a lot that you gave to our child to read.
Yeah, what the heck, dude? That better be my only one.
Oh, we all have like 3. So.
I just meant it was a lot of very adult.
You've heard. Oh wait, before we move on, you want to know something cool?
What?
Yes. In my class today. In my last class of the day?
Yes.
Music appreciation.
Yes.
You want to know what we're talking about?
Yes.
Renaissance music.
Awesome.
Cool.
Guys, the reason this is funny is because we're talking about going to a Renaissance fair.
Oh, we are going to a Renaissance.
Oh, we are going,
Tickets have already been purchased.
It's for Mom's birthday. Everyone say happy birthday to Mom.
Happy birthday to Mom.
Dad's birthday's this week. Say happy birthday to Dad.
To him too. Say happy birthday to both of them. They don't like getting older.
Well, I have decided that at 55, I get to start taking years off. So this birthday, I will be 54.
Oh,
I look forward to being 17.
good luck.
Okay, good luck with that. That means the Alzheimer's should kick in about 21.
Okay. Let's.
Not all. Yeah, we probably should.
Yeah.
Hey, you. Yes, you. Are you looking for a new podcast that appeals to your scientific curiosity, but is also a little bit spooky?
Show me how I died in a past life.
Well, look no further, because this cat is where it's at.
He had concerns about the ethics surrounding AI, feeling they had achieved consciousness.
Curious Cat Podcast examines the shadowy space where science and the supernatural collide. Listen every week with your host, Jennifer Holtz, as she and her guests explore what it means to be a soul in a meat suit.
We were healing karma together. They were all kind of predestined to resolve something.
Listen on all your favorite streaming apps and continue the conversation on Twitter at CuriousCatPodCA. Or find Jennifer and all her links at Jennifer L. Holtz, spelled HOTES.com.
That was awesome.
Yes, it was.
Is that going to be from our...
Yeah, let's see. Prime Diner, I think. Don't quote me on it.
All right. So, in 1897, under influences we can only guess at, Rasputin had a deep religious conversion. He began to make pilgrimages all over. In one instance, some think he went to Mount Athos in Greece. However, this first pilgrimage was to St. Nicholas Monastery at Verkhoturye. I know I butchered that, I'm sorry. And there he met a starets. A starets is a kind of wandering monk who made huge impacts on the 28-year-old, causing Rasputin to claim the man made him feel profoundly humbled. It is possible that he spent quite some time at the monastery there and even learned to read and write. When he returned, he was a changed man. He had sworn off alcohol, looked disheveled, and sang and prayed much more fervently than he ever had. His little circle of worshippers that had begun with just a few family members began to grow. His wife would see him rarely around this time as he made lots of pilgrimages, and his legend began to grow.
And after that little slice of history, how about we take a moment for a word from one of our lovely sponsors? And thanks for sponsoring our show.
Absolutely. Support our sponsors.
Rasputin began to travel extensively, and by 1903 was way more than he was at home. However, he was still demonized in Praskoye as villagers and the village priest became concerned about the makeshift chapel Rasputin had set up in his father's root cellar, and about the fact that the female members of the sect were supposed to have washed him before each service, that they sang strange songs and not your typical Sunday hymns, and some of these ceremonies were uniquely sexual. And while the rumor that he was having sex with his female followers followed Rasputin around, his charisma was still strong enough to win over important people, allowing him to make connections and his legend to grow. In 1904 or 05, he visited the city of Kazan, and there he met an archimandrite, which is an important abbot, essentially, if you know your Catholic hierarchies, named Andre, and a bishop named Chrysanthos, and they were so impressed with him, they gave him a letter of recommendation to Bishop Sergei, the leader of the theological seminary at the Alexander Nevsky Monastery in St. Petersburg. Now, once there, Rasputin met and befriended a local archimandrite named Theophan, who arranged for Rasputin to attend all the salons where theological discussions happen, and introducing him to a number of the movers and shakers in St. Petersburg. And it would be some of these who would eventually turn against him. The rich intelligentsia of St. Petersburg loved Rasputin. Many of them had become quite interested in spiritualism, occult, and the theosophy thing that was going around. And I think that was mostly Madame Blavatsky, which is weird to me that this is all going on while Marie Curie has actually
Right? Isn't that wild?
Yeah. So, I mean, it's like a totally different tone.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's see. But yeah, them loving these subjects, and Rasputin being a native-born Russian with his odd manners and unquiet gaze impressed the heck out of them, and he won a lot of them over. He returned to Praskoye and returned a few months later, where he met members of the Russian aristocracy, including Princess Milika of Montenegro and her sister Anastasia, whom were both married to Russian dukes. And through them was introduced to Tsar Nicholas and Tsarina Alexandra. While they were...
So there was another Anastasia. She had an older cousin.
Yeah. Still, while they were impressed initially, again, Rasputin returned home. It wasn't until 1905 or 1906 that they asked Rasputin to do what he could to heal their son, Alexei Nikolaevich. Alexei suffered from hemophilia, and the Tsar and Tsarina both asked Rasputin to do what he could for the young boy.
Oh, look! My turn!
It's Arthur's turn. Yeah, baby.
Okay. A member of the royal entourage?
Yep.
I did it! I'm doing it, guys! Rasputin at this point began to treat young Alexei.
Uh-huh.
Cool. It is this part that fascinates many historians because Rasputin was quite successful at healing the young man. Once when the child had hematoma?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. After jolting a carriage ride and everyone thought the child was on the verge of death, Alexandra had a telegram sent to Rasputin, who responded with something along the lines of, "God has seen your tears and heard your cries. The child will not die. Do not let the doctors bother him too much. Some people think that was the magic of Rasputin's cure. Not letting the doctors, who did not understand hemophilia at the time, poke and prod the young boy constantly, and forbidding the administration of aspirin for the pain. Aspirin's anticoagulant qualities weren't known until the 1950s. In addition, some think he was able to mesmerize the boy. That helped stop his bleeding. Others claim that Rasputin was able to put the mother at ease which in turn put the child at ease. Whatever the case, Rasputin was held in high esteem for these feats and was considered indispensable to the royal
family.
In addition, Rasputin met and spent time with the Tsar's other children, those who saw him with them said they seemed very relaxed around him. He even sent them telegrams telling them he loved them and other such things. However, one of the nannies was very upset when she found Rasputin in the nursery with several children, including 2 of the older girls, all in their nightgowns. She went to the Tsar to insist that Rasputin be barred from the nursery. However, one of the girls later had the nanny fired so that Rasputin could visit them again. It should be noted, other than him being around the children in nightgowns, no one accused Rasputin of any misconduct with the children. Still, the fired nanny went to many of the Tsar's relatives to complain about Rasputin, thus beginning his downfall.
Mm-hmm.
Rasputin had the Tsar's ear, and this gave him a lot of influence. And while it is true that his influence wasn't always good, it wasn't always bad either. When Tsar Nicholas sent him a telegram asking about how he was going to go after the peasants who were starting a revolt, Rasputin told him the move would cause an ocean of blood. When people reported Rasputin, who outside the palace was still as lecherous as ever, for his various misdeeds, they found themselves sent far away from St. Petersburg or were merely removed from their posts. Even when the prime minister compiled a list of Rasputin's misdeeds, the Tsar banned him from his palace for a few months before Tsarina Alexandra soon had him back at the palace. Because of his immunity to scandal with the royal family, those who saw themselves as enemy of Rasputin began to try to come up with ways to remove him. It was around this time that those members of the aristocracy who had been his friends initially started to plot against him. In some cases, it was because they did not like how much power he had. In others, they felt his influence on the Tsar was a negative one. On July 12, 1914, a peasant woman stabbed him in the stomach outside of his home in Prskoye, and for some time it looked like he might not survive. However, after treatment and time at the hospital, he was soon all right. The peasant woman was found not guilty by reason of insanity and institutionalized. However, many thought she was connected to a priest named Iliador, who had initially sang Rasputin's praises before eventually denouncing him for questionable sexual liaisons and his self-enrichment at the hands of the Tsar and his family. Iliador was an ultra-conservative and an anti-Semite, and the peasant woman in question was known to be one of his followers. As the Russian police began looking for him to ask him questions about the assassination attempt, he fled the country and was eventually defrocked.
These things happen. In 1915, with World War I raging, Tsar Nicholas went to the front lines to see the Russian troops leaving Alexandria to rule in his stead. with Rasputin acting as an advisor. He helped her pick people for cabinet posts, mostly opportunists, though at this point, that's mostly all there was around the Tsar and Tsarina. He also discussed the religious implications of her decisions with her. It was at this point that many began to try to push back against Rasputin. Stories were told of Rasputin and Alexandra having an affair, or an affair with her and several of her older daughters, and the far-right voices who wanted Rasputin ousted became much more strident. These voices became so strident that they questioned Alexandra herself, mostly because she had the misfortune of being born German, and so they claimed at heart she was still a German serving on a Russian's throne.
Now, it's also important to understand that Rasputin was causing scandals outside of the palace. He was carrying on with multiple women, from prostitutes to Russia's high society ladies. He accepted bribes and sexual favors from admirers.
Wow.
He would also engage in drunken rebels.
Rebels.
A couple of women, all either connected to right-wing politicians or to the nanny whom had tried to get Rasputin barred from the nursery, accused him of sexual assault. In these cases, it seemed unlikely. Some questioned the Tsar's making Rasputin his lamplighter, a job whereby Rasputin was expected to light the lamp for the holy days or visiting holy officials. And many people questioned just how much influence Rasputin had or what he was doing with it. And with the Russian army failing in World War I, as well as the economy beginning to change from agrarian to something else, the people were looking for a scapegoat, and the Tsar of Tsarina?
Yep.
The Tsar and Tsarina.
The Tsar and Tsarina were easy targets. And the Duma, which is roughly analogous to the U.S. House of Representatives, politicians like Vladimir
Purushkevich.
I was going to say that. Purushkevich. One of many right-wing zealots, regularly spoke out against both Rasputin and the Tsarina.
So this is, I guess your dad was trying to go for our longest episode since we're remaking the first one.
I guess so.
So let's take a minute for another word from sponsors.
There was a lot of information, but I think that I just
Say it? Yes, there was a lot of information. It's a long episode. That's okay. I thought it was funny because it's a lot.
One day we're gonna hit the podcast world record for the longest episode ever.
No, we're not. Because I am not Chris Burgess. That ain't happening.
Fine, then you guys aren't up for the chase, I will.
Okay, that'd be Arthur's own podcast. He's gonna go for the longest one ever. No, thank you. I've had the experience of enjoying almost 5 hours of podcasts before. No, thank you. No,
oh my gosh.
No, I don't have that kind of staying power. Okay, so now the
death
crescendo, the death of Rasputin. Purishkevich, along with Russian Grand Duke Dmitry Pavlovich, and a noble married to the Tsar's niece, making him ostensibly a prince named Felix Yusupov, led a growing contingent of nobles who had decided to remove Rasputin by any means necessary. Felix invited Rasputin to the Yuspov's Moika Palace, and Rasputin died of 3 gunshot wounds, the last of which was a close-range shot to the forehead. That is what we know, and is all of what we know for sure. However, history most often falls back on the story that Yusupov included in his memoirs. That version states that Rasputin arrived at the Moika Palace shortly after midnight on the 30th of December, 1916. He was ushered into the basement where, according to Yusupov, they offered him tea and cakes, which both were poisoned. Initially, Rasputin refused the cakes, but soon began to eat them and drink the tea, showing no signs of distress. Rasputin asked for Madeira wine, and Yusupov brought it to him. The wine was also poisoned. Rasputin then drank several glasses, showing no ill effects. Yusupov went upstairs to where the other conspirators were hiding and retrieved a pistol. No, what is with you guys? You don't want me to be able to read my parts tonight?
No, you're not allowed to.
Jeez Louise.
Sorry.
Returning downstairs, he pointed to a crucifix on the wall and supposedly said, "You better look at that crucifix and say a prayer," before shooting him in the chest. One of the conspirators put on Rasputin's hat and coat and drove to Rasputin's room to make it appear that the Russian had returned home. Yusupov then returned downstairs, where Rasputin leaped up off of the floor. I'm not quite sure it happened that way, but okay. Fought with Yusupov, who was forced to flee. Rasputin then ran out the front door, where Perskovich shot him again, and Rasputin collapsed in a snowbank. Then, supposedly, they wrapped him in a blanket, drove him to a nearby bridge, and tossed him into the river. However, there are many problems with this story, aside from the fact that it's absolutely ridiculous. Rasputin's daughter said that her father disliked sweet foods, and so he never would have eaten the supposedly poisoned cakes. The surgeon who had done the official autopsy recorded nothing about poison or drowning, merely recorded a gunshot fired at close range into Rasputin's forehead as the cause of death. An inquest into his death was done 100 years later and recorded similar findings. So Yusupov's account probably contains a lot of creative license. Gee, you think? Wow.
So let's talk a little about his legacy. Maria Rasputin, Rasputin's daughter, who was born in 1898, emigrated to France and eventually to the United States, where she was a dancer and later a lion tamer.
That's amazing.
Because that's a good job switch.
Absolutely.
She died in 1977. Multiple movies and TV shows have been made featuring the Mad Monk. Many were made in other countries, but these included movies such as Rasputin the Mad Monk, a Hammer horror movie, Rasputin, Dark Servant of Destiny, Rasputin, Dark Servant of Destiny, where Alan Rickman plays the title role, which covered the last 4 years of Rasputin's life. Anastasia, which was where a reanimated Rasputin was voiced by Christopher Lloyd, and The Power of the Doctor, a 2022 Doctor Who film where Rasputin was an alias of the Master. The German Caribbean band Boney M made a popular song called Rasputin as well. Rasputin is an easy character to use in historical fiction, as so little is known about his early life, and even what is known is clouded with lies and rumors and untrue stories. And that is everything I could learn about Rasputin.
Yay!
And see,
that was a lot of research, hun, and you did a great job. And I just want to thank you for putting all the effort into going back and remaking this episode. 100% love your very, very first episode, but you have grown so much in the last 4 years, and thank you for doing the extra work.
I appreciate it. I always thought the story of Rasputin's death, as recorded, was believable, but and that was right around the time that the Anthony Tato thing happened, where the guy was having an affair on his wife, and his wife poisoned him and then shot him and let him lay in bed for 4 days, and he still didn't die. And the reason is because all the poison she dumped in his system slowed his metabolism so much, his body wasn't working fast enough to bleed out. And so by the time the police were convinced something was wrong and looked in on him, so that's why I thought that death was believable to me.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. I mean, and in history, we really don't know, how much of it is licensed, how much of it is true. We only get one person's opinion, and then everything else goes off of those opinions. So absolutely get it. Wow, that has been an amazing show, and you are a rock star for doing it.
Arthur, you got any final thoughts you want to do?
I have a final thought.
Okay.
These hiccups suck.
I will agree. Hiccups suck. And that's our show. Thanks for listening. Thanks for keeping us in the Good Pods Top 100. That always makes me feel good.
It's so awesome. We're so excited to be able to say that all the time.
Thanks for joining our Facebook group, moderated by our own Laura June.
You're welcome.
Thank you, babe.
Oh, no.
Blue Bose is our sound engineer. Thanks as always go to Bill Berendt, Behrendt. Bill is the man who does our theme music. Thank you, Bill. And if you need music for a project or someone to perform at a ceremony of some sort, Bill is your guy. Please reach out to him at Bill Berendt at sbcglobal.net. Thanks also go out to Paige Elmore, formerly of the Reverie Crime Podcast. However, she no longer does the podcast, but in addition to the 100 or so awesome episodes she left us with, she is also a Canva addict, and she has combined that with some of her own Arthur's artwork to do some logo art for us. Thank you, Paige.
Thank you, Paige.
And thanks to Aaron Gennert of the Big Dumb Fun Show for supporting us locally. Please join us next week as we cross the pond and visit the UK to learn all about the life and crimes of the Cray twins. Bye! Bye.